If you do these three basic things, I promise you'll start getting more stops in Madden 23. What's up, guys? Zan from the Zan Madden YouTube channel, and in today's video we're going to go over 3 things that you need to start doing to get more stops. These are going to be base level tips that I promise you will help you guys stop most of the metas in the game. It's going to help you guys out with a lot of the problem areas that people frequently ask questions about, and really this is going to keep it real simple for you too while we're at it. So let's get into it. Let's start off with number 3 in our countdown. You need to learn how to manually jam players off the line of scrimmage. This is a super underrated tip, and I think honestly it could be number 1 in a list because I think this is the quickest way to get your opponent off rhythm. And what I mean by that is that a lot of players have a tell in their offense. They have a primary read that it's very important that you neutralize off the line of scrimmage and get their eyes looking to their secondary reads. So many players typically struggle with getting the ball into the hands of somebody other than their predetermined first read. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to do this. This is very simple. Say you're facing a tight formation and they're throwing the ball down the seam right away to Kittle. It doesn't matter what you're in, but you're going to take your user, and what my recommendation is high strength. In fact, you can do this with linebackers that don't even have high press ratings. And what you're going to do is you're going to line up directly over top of the player that you want to jam. Now, when the ball is snapped, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the A button. You do not want to run at the wide receiver. Let the receiver get into your body, and then you press A to latch onto them and jam them. Now, you can steer the release animation with the left thumbstick. So if you want to kind of filter them inside or outside, you can steer them in one direction or the other. This is not a guarantee, but it is an added benefit to this if it does work for you. But the real benefit is that you're going to be able to lock them up at the line of scrimmage, preventing your opponent from really highballing that throw right off the line. See here how we've got Ray Lewis and we lock up Kittle at the line of scrimmage while the pass rush is getting home. This player doesn't even get vertical enough in the seam to flip the hips of the safety, which is what a lot of players typically look for their high ball cue. They look for that player to get the hips turned of the safety or the defensive back that's guarding them in zone. And as soon as they see that visual cue, they throw the high ball. But in this situation, we're preventing them from ever getting into the route while the pass rush gets home in the background. And this is a quick way that you guys can stop players from moving the ball out of tight formations. Just for the record, I rather like this tactic when facing corner routes as well. If you know somebody's going to spam a corner route into the sideline, it's always great to be able to latch on, hold them at the line of scrimmage, and never let them get into their route whatsoever. See here that we have this streak corner combination with T.Y. Hilton running the streak, and Julian Edelman intended to go to the corner. Because I got such a great press animation, he never got into his pattern at all, never had a chance to get it over to the sidelines. A lot of players will panic if you can neutralize their corner routes. So that's number 3. Number 2 in our list is going to come to you in the form of turning on match coverage. No matter what. I don't care if you run quarters, palms, cover 6, cover 9, cover 6 invert, cover 6 trap, cover 3 buzz seam, cover 3 seam, or cover 2 sink. Those are all the match plays that I can think of off the top of my head that aren't zone fire blitzes. However, there are hidden rules within zone coverage plays, as we've talked about here before on the YouTube channel, that will actually help you stop the most popular metas without calling a match-based play. Furthermore, you can't call match plays without the match switch on to begin with. So let's talk about the added benefits of turning on match, not only through the match lens, but through the zone lens. This one is real simple. I talk about this one all the time. This is quarters versus bunch. A lot of players traditionally complain about defending bunch because it's hard to run zone against. A lot of players run street corner flat combinations, and they can throw this ball into the sideline. However, match quarters has what's called a box check. This is a very simple rule set that you can use if you're facing compression corners where your opponent is not motioning players outside towards the sideline. And what this does is it creates basically a 4-on-3 to the bunch side where you can't throw the corner, the streak, or the flat combo. So we're going to roll the tape right here, and you're going to see that when this ball is snapped, that the 4 corners of the box are created as the route combo flows. You can see that there are 4 white jerseys that basically create a low inside corner, a low outside corner, a high outside corner, and a high inside corner of a box, hence the name box check. This is really, really good for dealing with bunch formations. Of course, there are ways to manipulate this, but in general, if you struggle with bunch corner routes, quarters with match on is a great solve. As you play more advanced players, obviously you'll want to check some of the other content here on my channel or head over to gridirongameplans.gg. Before we get into the other part of why match coverage must be on at all times, if you guys could do me a quick favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so that way you guys are notified Monday through Friday of my long form updates and my YouTube shorts that come out in the afternoons. Now back to the video. Now let's get back into the cool part of why you always want your match coverage setting to be on, even if you're calling a zone coverage play. So in this example, I'm going to show you a cover 2 tip. This is something we broke down last week with the coverage off by default. And what I'm going to run here is a streak corner combination to the short side of the field. This is a very popular route combination for a lot of players because they know that you have to use the corner route on the short side of the field when your opponent is in zone. And I'm going to show you a situation where I call Tampa 2, but I drop the mid read into a deep middle third to provide a little bit more protection between the safeties. And what you'll see right here with this setup is that when I run this with the match switch off, this corner route is going to run over the head. JJ Watt really just ruined that rep. And what you're going to see when the match switch is off is that the corner route is going to run right over the head of the cloud flat. It's an easy up pass lead, and we're able to toe tap for about a 25 to 30 yard gain and a first down. And of course, players are going to spam this all day long if you don't user it. But as we talked about last week, there are hidden match rules within regular zone plays. So if you turn on the match switch and you go back into that same Tampa 2 that we called, where we're just going to put Peppers into a middle third here, we can actually make sure that we can match the outside corner route to T.Y. Hilton. So check this out. You see how in that repetition, the vertical hook, because we had the match switch on, started to match the corner route. In short, the way that this operates is zone coverage knows when they've already allowed one vertical route to run down the field. So this vertical hook says, okay, Edelman's going to the safety, but there's a second vertical route on this play. I need to help out my safety because there's only one deep player on my side of the field. So the match coverage rule takes over and he runs to the sideline with the corner route while the safety takes the streak down the field. These are the hidden nuances within your basically zone coverage plays where match switch actually helps you out in a significant way. And again, the added bonus is that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you don't really want those match switches to change how your vertical hook plays, you could just protect the sticks or shade your coverage down or up depending on what you're really feeling to make this vertical hook still hang out. So let's say that you're worried about your opponent throwing a drag route on that. You don't want that matching corner route because that vertical hook is going to leave the left inside portion of the field open. All I would recommend doing is shading down and then putting, if you want, your cloud flat back into a cloud flat to guard a potential corner. Don't worry, we're going to get to that momentarily. But now in this situation, you know the corner route is going to likely be more open, but at least now if you get into somebody that's throwing these little drag routes, you see that we've got somebody there to make a hit and jar the ball loose. So you can still fiddle around with making your hook zones play underneath or drop deeper into the seam. If you wanted to shade over the top, it would just play closer to the sticks, or you could protect the sticks altogether to make sure that your match rules don't apply. So having this on is a benefit no matter what you do. You can always go back when you're on the field and shade or protect the sticks to turn those off. And that brings us to our number one thing that you need to start doing on defense, no matter what you run in Madden, and that is auto-alignment base. Now, traditionally, I am not a fan of this. In the past, I've always told players, don't base align. I think it gives free releases to receivers. I think that it is a situation where you're going to have bad leverages. But more often than not, that was related to man coverage or match coverage. And as we know in Madden 23, this year's game is very man coverage heavy. A lot of players play man to man. I like to play match, which is zone that converts to man when it needs to. We just talked about some match rules just a moment ago. So one thing you're going to note with this is that leverage is really not super respected in this game. If you play man, it's pretty effective. Guys have good catch-up speed, and the rack animations in this game in general are not great. So you can get away with giving up a step or two of leverage inside or outside. Now, the pros of base align are plenty, and we're just going to go over a few of them here. But what I want to talk about is kind of why I much prefer base align when I'm playing my coverage scheme. So you guys know that I'm a big time coverage player. I know my rules. I just rely on my rules. Doesn't matter whether or not I'm playing match quarters or cover 2 or, you know, even some situations cover 3 match we've talked about before. I'd like to be able to kind of go around my different setups and not give away tells. And that's the biggest thing that base aligning does for you. So let's go ahead and kind of show you what I mean. So if I were to come out and I have base align on, ignore the play art bugs here. You see right here, this is kind of what the man coverage looks like. This is your 2-man under. Of course, free releases, no press, no nothing, right? But if I were to audible into cover 3 sky, you see that it looks the exact same. There's no fidgeting, nobody moves, there's no changing of positions. If I audible into Tampa 2, you see right here, again, the same drill, everybody's in the same position. If I audible into quarters, you see here that everybody's in the same position. Now I'm going to show you what this looks like when you leave the base align setting off or to default, meaning that if you want a base align, you have to do it after you break the huddle. So you see right here, here's our 2-man under. First thing you're going to tell is that the nickel is on the different side there, which is a little bit odd, but it is what it is. Now let's go ahead and audible into our cover 3 sky. Big time rotation, big time tells. Everything in our previous example was too high. Everybody was in the same position. Now we're in cover 3. You see a single high safety. You see basically 4 players down at the second level behind the defensive line. This is a clear tell to anybody with half a brain that this is cover 3 or cover 1. If I were to go into quarters, you're going to see that it does revert back into a too high defense. However, the alignment of the defensive backs is going to be drastically different than another too high defense, which is Tampa 2. So you see that the safeties are wider. Of course, there's a lot of tells here, right? So if you're a savvy player and you're facing someone who doesn't have base align on, you can immediately tell everything about what they're doing pre-snap relatively quickly. I will say the only real way you can hide things otherwise if you're not going to base align is to do a pinch all, which is right bumper and then down, or R1 then down. And that's going to pinch your D-line, pinch your linebackers, and press your coverage. And we're going to get into momentarily, that's going to be our biggest part of the base align, why I don't think this is a good idea. But at least when you do this, you can kind of audible between plays and just re-pinch really quickly. And most players aren't going to have time to find out your tells. There still will be the issue of pinching out of like a cover 3 defense though, because again, it's going to show single high. So base align hides all your coverage tells. That's one of the reasons it exists in this game. So now we turn base align back on, and I want to kind of talk about why I do believe that this is one of the bigger things in this game that players don't really know about, and that is that your outside cloud flats, when you're just in standard base align and not pressed, do a much better job of being in an area where they can kind of defend corner routes. So I'm going to run that street corner combination. I'm going to leave the vertical hook in a situation where they don't match here just for the purpose of this portion of the tip. I understand that we can defend it with a vert hook. But what we're going to do here is I just want to show you kind of the depth of this player. It's not a guaranteed interception, but I just want to show you that it changes up the timing of how people are going to read these coverages. And you see here that like you have to hold on to the ball considerably longer. And this could be a real benefit to, you know, your defense when you can make your opponent hold on to the ball longer to get a corner route open. You might be in a defense that does allow a corner route to get open, but they've got to wait on it. So you see right here, the depth of this corner is so much deeper that they have to wait longer for this guy to get behind. And in a lot of cases, your pass rush is going to get home. Whereas if I were to play this exact same coverage with no base align on, so if I were to just kind of roll it up like this, you see the guy is a lot closer to the line of scrimmage and a little bit more narrow. I could snap this ball pretty easily, and you're going to be able to throw this ball sooner. And you see how I could fit that ball in. I didn't have to hold on to the ball as long. Again, it still gets open, right? But, you know, I was able to step up into that throw about a second sooner than in the previous example. Again, now we're back in the baseline situation, and I'm going to run that exact same route combo. And you're going to see here that there might even be an opportunity for us to pick this off because I do really have to hold on to this ball. And in fact, you do see that because I had to wait longer, that route actually was a little bit tougher to get 2 feet in. It's still open, but the depth of the base aligned outside non-pressed cloud flat is actually one of the better alignments in the game for defending corner routes. And a lot of players don't realize that. And of course, when you're pressing, like there's no chance. When you're pressing, any corner route in the game is going to get wide open behind the cloud flat. They just don't drop fast enough this year. So again, you're gonna see right here, like I can throw this right away and then rack it. You see how much different that looks. That's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. So, you know, when you're base aligned with your corner in a cloud flat, that's going to be a huge benefit for you. And of course, just some other little things about base aligning as well. You know, leverage for outside runs. If you have your corners out wide, it's a lot harder to get to the edge. So if you're calling a cover 2 base defense, those players are playing down in the run fits. You guys can learn more about run fits here on the channel, but this video is running a little bit long, so we're going to call it there. The top 3 things you guys can do to improve your defense right away. It doesn't have anything to do with setting up blitzes. It just has everything to do with the little things that will improve your defense for certain in Madden 23. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We'll see you guys a little bit later this afternoon with our next YouTube short and tomorrow with our next long form update. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.